Hello, welcome to the 912 Food Pharmacy August program. Welcome. I've enjoyed meeting many of you at our stops along the way, and we're going to talk about our seasonal produce of the month, which is going to be okra. But before we do that, I want to go over the journal prompts. So in the cookbook that we gave you, there were places where you could write about your experience while you were in the program, and those were called journal prompts. So I've been really encouraging you to do that. And so our journal prompts for actually last month is being in the 912 Food Pharmacy program changing the way you think about food, and are you trying new or less familiar foods? And many of you have told me that that is the case. It's been beneficial in the way you think about food and your choices of food, but also your children. And so I had a couple of good questions at one of the stops this past month, and it was about children and their desire for certain foods, whether they were liking some foods or not liking some foods, or how their taste had changed. And so in our mindfulness moment today, I just want to talk about when we choose foods, what we're kind of looking for. So think about when you think about what you want to eat, it's really about what you want, maybe what you need, and then also what you have. And many things influence that. So we do, you use all of our senses basically to eat. It's not just our sense of taste. It's also our sense of smell. It's also the way food looks. It actually even may be the way food sound. So it's a very sensory experience. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about those different qualities. So when you're looking at tasting food, it may be because it's sweet, it's salty, it's sour, it's bitter, it's maybe spicy. That's what appeals to you or doesn't appeal to you. It's also about texture. And with children, this is very much the case. It could be crunchy, it could be creamy, it could be smooth, it could be juicy. Temperature plays a huge part in it as well. Is it hot? Is it moderate in temperature? Is it cold? Is it frozen? It may be the type of food that you like or don't like. Maybe it's heavy, maybe it's light, maybe it's somewhere in between. And then maybe the category of the food. Is it a protein? Is it a bread? Is it a vegetable? And so all of those things influence our desire to eat certain foods, or where we feel like we don't like certain foods. But remember, those change along the way. So what you may have liked a couple of years ago, that may change, or even from yesterday to today. And that's part of mindfulness, is being in the present and recognizing that those things change on a day-to-day, a meal-to-meal, a food-to-food basis. So let's talk about our produce of the month, and that is okra. And as I was saying previously, the taste, texture, temperature of foods vary a lot. And okra is one of those foods that the texture is sometimes what people don't like about, because it can get slimy. But we're going to teach you a couple of techniques to prevent that from happening. So okra, the seasonality is roughly from July to October. What you want to do when you select the pods is to select the smaller pods, and they should be, green, bright green in color. You do not want to have the larger pods, because the larger pods are going to be tough. So the smaller, the better. You do not want to rinse them, wash them until you're absolutely ready to cook them, because once they get wet, that slime, that mucus that's in them is going to come out more. So when you're ready to cook them, rinse them, and then you want to make sure they're very dry. So what I use today is a cloth that really kind of takes the moisture out of it. So the smaller, the better, and the greener, the better. They do freeze well, so you can cook them and freeze them. And okra freezes beautifully. Let's talk about the nutritional quality. Low in calories, low in sodium, high in fiber, very high in vitamin C as well. So it has lots of good nutritional value to it. And then how do you use it? Well, we're going to pan fry today. A lot of people like it also fried, like battered and fried. That's another way. You can use it in soups. You can use it in stews. You could actually eat it raw. You can steam it. So it's very, very versatile. So it's also one of the components of gumbo. So it has that thickening quality to it. A couple of other things about okra. It's also called ladyfingers, is another name from it, and it actually originates from Africa, but it's also used in a lot of other cuisines, use okra as well. What you want to do is you want to cut off the ends. So we're going to cut off the top, and then we're going to cut off the bottom, and we're actually going to slice it. If you were going to do something like roasting, you could leave the pods whole. You could also cut them lengthwise to roast it as well. So the other recipe that we have is for the roasted okra. So those would be left whole. But for this one, we're going to just slice it. And these are pretty tender because of the size of them, the smallness of them. And you'll know if they're too big or they're, the pods are tough when you'll cut them, you'll feel that. So we've got about 2 cups of the sliced okra. This is a really simple recipe. We're gonna add 3/4 teaspoon of vegetable oil, about 1/8 a teaspoon of salt, and about 1/8 a teaspoon of pepper. But remember, to taste with those as well. We're just going to stir it up. We're going to also put a little bit of cooking spray in our pan, and then we're just going to pan fry it. So I'm going to put the vegetable oil, salt, a little bit of pepper. Just going to mix that up, coat it a little bit. And we're going to cook over medium. We're going to cook it a little bit higher to begin with, and then we're going to turn it down because we don't want it to burn and we want it to cook on the inside. So just going to give this a little bit of spray. And this is optional as well. If you use a non-stick cooking pan, you may not have to use the spray. Hear that sizzling. I'm just going to let it pan fry, kind of get up high temperature, and shake the pan a little bit. And these were very tender pods, so it should cook pretty quickly. You can also tell if the pods are older, they will be more dark in color instead of light, more the off-white as you see here. But one thing about vinegar, the acidity of vinegar or lemon juice, that will actually help to cut back on the sliminess of okra. So that's also, it provides some flavor, but it'll also provide that reduction in the slime, the mucus that people don't like about okra. And one of the interesting things that I found out when I was looking up okra is that mucus is the same substance that's also found in aloe vera. So it was interesting to find that out. And as you can see, this is dry heat, so it's not slimy at all. It's starting to smell wonderful. Last one, let's put it back in there. I had a lot of good feedback from our last stop with the roasted okra. And so I hope you try both of these recipes. So our okra has cooked for approximately 10 minutes, and it's got a little bit of brown on the outside, not slimy at all, got a beautiful green color. I am going to add a little bit of vinegar. Some people also like a little bit of hot vinegar in okra. Just a tad of vinegar. And a little bit of hot sauce, just to kind of kick it up a notch. And so that's a good flavor combination. Toss it a little bit. And let's just plate it up here. Beautiful. Pan-fried okra, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of hot sauce, a little salt and pepper. Didn't take much oil. We sprayed the pan. Now it's time to taste. Good texture. It's crunchy, it's still got some good texture to it, but not slimy at all. So, very good. So I hope you try this recipe. So let's talk about our August journal prompts. So one of the questions in your book says, do you notice any difference in the way you feel when you eat certain foods? So this is part of intuitive and mindful eating, is paying attention how foods make you feel. So we talked a little bit earlier about our food choices, and how taste and texture and what you choose makes a difference. So this is just something to notice. If you eat heavier foods versus lighter foods, if you choose foods that are more protein-based versus more carbohydrate-based, may make you feel different. Do you choose more vegetables, and how does that make you feel? And then the other question is, are you trying new ways of cooking? So I look forward to hearing your answers this month at the different stops. And so try the recipe, give feedback. There's plenty of room for commenting. Please let me know if you're enjoying these videos or anything else you want to add. Thank you.